I never thought I would carry a secret so heavy, a truth so forbidden that even whispering it feels like a crime. Yet here I am, confessing the one thing I swore I'd take to my grave. I fell in love with someone I should never have. Not a stranger, not a distant friend, but my own brother. It sounds unthinkable, doesn't it? I used to think so too. But love has a cruel way of choosing its victims. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't care about boundaries. One day you're safe, living within the lines of what's acceptable, and the next, you're standing on the edge of something dangerous, your heart betraying you with every beat. It began with small things I couldn't explain. The way my stomach fluttered when Daniel smiled at me, the way my heart ached when he held me too long, too tight. I told myself it was just sibling affection, nothing more. But when the nights grew silent and I was left alone with my thoughts, I knew the truth. My feelings were not innocent. The shame is unbearable. Every day I wake up terrified he will notice, terrified I will lose him forever. But the harder I fight it, the stronger it grows. And now I can no longer deny it. My heart belongs to him. Daniel and I grew up closer than most siblings. From as far back as I can remember, he was my protector. When kids at school teased me, it was Daniel who stepped in, daring anyone to lay a finger on me. When our parents argued behind closed doors, he was the one who crept into my room, whispering promises that everything would be okay. For me, Daniel wasn't just a brother. He was my anchor, my safest place in a world that often felt too heavy. But somewhere along the way, things changed. The bond that once felt so innocent began to blur into something deeper, something I couldn't name at first. I noticed the little things. The way his laugh lingered in my head long after it ended. The way my pulse quickened whenever his arm brushed against me. I shouldn't have noticed his strength, his warmth, and the kindness in his eyes. But I did. And once I noticed, I couldn't unsee it. What made it worse was how natural it all felt. He trusted me in ways he trusted no one else, and I felt privileged to hold that part of him. But at the same time, the guilt was suffocating. I asked myself 1,000 times, why him? Why me? I wanted to bury the feelings, to lock them away where no one could find them. But emotions have a way of leaking through cracks, no matter how hard you try to contain them. And as we grew older, the cracks only widened, pushing me closer to a truth I wasn't ready to face.
Daniel's 21st birthday was supposed to be a night of celebration, but for me, it became the night everything started to unravel. The house buzzed with laughter, music, and the smell of food. Friends filled every corner, raising glasses in his honor. But through all the noise, my eyes never left him. He stood tall and confident, surrounded by people who adored him, and yet somehow he still managed to make me feel like the only person in the room. I tried to play my part, smiling, serving drinks, pretending everything was normal, but my heart betrayed me each time our eyes met across the room. It was almost unbearable, holding on to a secret so heavy while he remained blissfully unaware. Or was he? Sometimes I wondered if he noticed the way I lingered too close, the way I studied him when I thought no one was watching. When the party finally ended and the guests had gone, I found him outside in the backyard. The night was calm, stars scattered across the sky. He sat on the old wooden bench, his face lost in thought. I joined him, nervous, my heart racing. For a while we sat in silence, listening to the soft hum of the crickets. Then he turned to me, his voice low and steady. "Em, I don't know what I'd do without you." The words pierced through me, both comforting and dangerous. My chest tightened, my breath caught in my throat. For a split second, I leaned closer, and so did he. Our eyes locked, and the air between us grew heavy, charged with something unspoken. If not for the sound of a car passing by, I think we might have kissed that night. The moment slipped away, but the damage was done. Because now I knew whatever existed between us wasn't just in my head.
After that night in the backyard, I could no longer silence the storm inside me. Every moment replayed in my head, the way his eyes lingered, the way his body leaned toward mine. Was it just my imagination, or had Daniel felt it too? The thought thrilled me, but it also terrified me. The guilt became unbearable. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror without feeling shame, without whispering, "This is wrong." I needed to tell someone, to let the weight slip off my chest, even if only for a moment. That's when I turned to Clara, my best friend since childhood. We met at a quiet cafe, the kind of place where secrets felt safe. My hands trembled as I wrapped them around my coffee cup. For a long time, I couldn't find the words. Then finally, they spilled out. "Clara, I think I'm in love with Daniel." Her reaction was immediate. Her eyes widened, her jaw dropped. She leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Emily, that's your brother." Tears stung my eyes as I nodded. I know how it sounds. I've tried to fight it, but it's not going away. It's getting stronger. She stared at me for what felt like forever, torn between judgment and compassion. Finally, she sighed. You can't choose who you fall for, but you can choose what to do about it. You have to be careful. If anyone finds out, it could ruin you both." Her words hit me hard. I knew she was right, but as much as I wanted to bury my feelings, I couldn't. Because every time I looked at Daniel, every time he smiled at me, my heart betrayed me all over again. It was a rainy evening, the kind where the clouds hung low and the streets glistened with danger. Daniel had gone out with a few friends, promising he wouldn't be long. I tried to distract myself, but the storm outside mirrored the chaos inside me. Something about that night felt wrong. Then the phone rang. My heart nearly stopped when I heard the voice on the other end. "Is this Emily? There's been an accident. Daniel was brought into the hospital." The words shattered me. I didn't even remember how I got there, only the sound of the rain against the taxi windows and the thunder that roared like my own pounding heart. When I reached the hospital and saw him lying there, bandaged, pale, still, it felt like my entire world had collapsed. I sat by his side, holding his hand, my tears falling onto the sheets. And for the first time, I couldn't hold back the truth. My voice trembled as I whispered, "Please, don't leave me, Daniel. I can't live without you. I love you more than I should, more than I'm allowed." I thought the room swallowed my confession whole, that no one else would ever hear it. But then his fingers twitched, curling ever so slightly around mine. My breath caught in my throat. Did he hear me, or was it just a reflex? The possibility terrified me, because if he did hear, then my secret was no longer mine alone. When Daniel finally opened his eyes, relief washed over me like a wave. For a moment, nothing else mattered. He was alive. That was all I needed. But as the days passed and he slowly recovered, something in the way he looked at me changed. His gaze was softer, deeper, almost searching. I couldn't shake the fear that he had heard my desperate confession at the hospital. The way his eyes lingered on me, the way he seemed to study my face as if trying to read every hidden thought, it was unnerving. One evening, as I helped him adjust the pillows on his bed, he caught my hand and held it. His grip was gentle but firm. His voice, low and deliberate, broke the silence.
Do you ever feel like some things are meant to happen even if they're not supposed to? My heart skipped. The words were vague, but the meaning behind them was too close, too dangerous. I tried to steady my voice. What do you mean? He looked at me for a long time before shaking his head. Forget it. But I couldn't forget it. That single exchange replayed in my mind for nights. Because it wasn't just what he said, it was the way he looked at me when he said it. His silent eyes told a story he was too afraid to voice. And for the first time, I began to wonder, maybe this forbidden love wasn't mine alone to carry.
It was a quiet evening, the kind that made every sound in the house feel louder than usual. Rain pattered softly against the windows, and the glow of the television filled the living room. Daniel was stretched out on the couch beside me, recovering but looking stronger than he had in weeks. We weren't talking much, just watching a movie neither of us really cared about. But the silence between us wasn't empty. It was charged, heavy with everything we hadn't said. Every time his shoulder brushed against mine, my chest tightened. Every time he shifted closer, my pulse quickened. At one point, he leaned forward to grab the remote, and when he settled back, his arm rested lightly against mine. He didn't move it, neither did I. The warmth of his skin seeped into me, and suddenly, breathing felt impossible. I turned my head, and our eyes met. That look, soft, intense, unflinching, was enough to make the world fall away. Slowly, almost without thinking, he leaned closer. I felt his breath against my cheek, my lips parting instinctively, my heart racing so loudly it drowned out the movie. Just as the space between us closed to almost nothing, the front door slammed open. Our mother's voice called from the hallway, startling us back to reality. We jerked apart instantly, pretending to focus on the screen. But the truth was undeniable. We had almost kissed. And that meant we had already crossed an invisible line, one we could never step back from. The days after that almost kiss were torture. Every glance, every brush of his hand, every shared silence was louder than words. I could barely look at Daniel without remembering the closeness of that night, the heat of his breath, the way our lips nearly touched. My heart betrayed me over and over again. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. The weight of it all, the guilt, the longing, the confusion was crushing me. I found him sitting alone in his room, headphones around his neck, lost in thought. My courage trembled, but I forced the words out. "Daniel, we need to talk." He looked up at me, cautious. "About what?" I swallowed hard, my voice breaking. "About us. About what's happening between us." For a moment, silence filled the room. His jaw tightened, and he looked away. "Emily, don't." Tears stung my eyes. "I can't pretend anymore. I feel something for you. Something I know I shouldn't. But it's there, and it's tearing me apart." His shoulders slumped, as if the truth had drained him. Slowly, he lifted his eyes to mine, and I saw it. The same conflict, the same fire, the same forbidden pull. His voice was barely a whisper. "Do you think I don't feel it too?" My breath caught. It was the confirmation I had both dreaded and longed for. I wasn't alone in this. He felt it too. And in that moment, I knew we were standing on the edge of a choice that could either bind us forever or destroy us completely. After that night, there was no more pretending. The air between us had changed, charged with something we could no longer deny. Every word we spoke carried a hidden meaning. Every look lingered too long. It was dangerous, intoxicating, and terrifying all at once. We both knew what we felt, yet neither of us dared to act on it.
The consequences loomed over us like a dark cloud. Society would never understand. Our parents would disown us. Friends would turn their backs. Clara, my one confidant, would never forgive me. This was more than love. This was a sin in the eyes of the world. One evening, I found him sitting in the living room staring at the flickering light of a candle. His face was drawn, conflicted. I sat beside him, my heart pounding. Finally, he broke the silence. "We can't do this, Im," he said softly, his voice trembling. "If we cross this line, it'll destroy us." But even as he spoke, his hand reached for mine. He held it tightly, as if afraid to let go. My chest ached, tears pricking my eyes. "Then why does it feel like I'll die if I don't?" I whispered. His jaw clenched. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, with a broken sigh, he pulled me into his arms. And in that embrace, the world disappeared. There was no judgment, there was no law, there was no shame. Just us, two souls caught in a love we could never fully claim. For that moment, I didn't care if it was love or sin. It was real, and it was ours.
I never imagined my life would lead here, to this point where love and guilt are woven so tightly, I can no longer tell them apart. For years, I carried this secret alone, burying it deep, pretending it was nothing but a passing thought. But now the truth is out, shared, alive between us. And once spoken, it can never be taken back. Daniel and I never fully crossed the line, but we came close, closer than we ever should have. The moments we shared, the glances, the touch of his hand in mine, they were enough to change me forever. Because once your heart claims someone, there is no undoing it. I know the world will never understand. To others, it will always be wrong, shameful, unforgivable. Maybe they're right. Maybe this love is nothing more than a curse. But when I look at him, when I feel the way my soul calms in his presence, I know it isn't just sin, it's the purest truth I've ever known. So here I am, confessing it openly. I fell in love with my brother. It is the love I will never speak of outside these walls. The love I will guard until my last breath. Some secrets destroy, some secrets heal. Mine does both. And though it may never see the light of day, it will live on in me as my greatest sin and my only joy.